We have invested over $100 billion on computers in classrooms over the past few decades, and we have not yet done it effectively. We have not seen results improve to the extent that we need with that kind of an investment. And so it's gratifying to see us reconvene now and say, how can we channel our energy and our policy towards a higher end so that we can actually bring about something that's better for our students. And I think that as we do that, sometimes it helps to look at where we are now in context of broader innovations. So I'm going to begin outside of our industry, outside of education, thinking about innovation in general, which is really what the Christensen Institute is all about. The Christensen Institute was founded by Professor Clayton Christensen of Harvard Business School, who brings to bear his sizable body of research on innovation theory to think about how to improve innovation in the education and healthcare sectors. And so let's talk about disruptive innovation and how this phenomenon can help us understand what's happening right now with digital learning. One way that I like to conceptualize disruptive innovation is to think about it as a series of concentric circles. Those with the most wealth and expertise have access to those inner circles. Most of us live our lives around the outer rim of these circles with relatively simple needs for technology. In the early days of computing, really before the arrival of computers, most people got by with the slide rule. It was cheap, it was accessible. Pretty much anyone who wanted to could have a slide rule to help them with predominantly multiplication and division. And then when the invention of the mainframe computer came about, it just snapped the industry to the center so that only those with the most wealth and expertise could access that mainframe computer, but it allowed for much more sophisticated computation. And then the first wave of disruption came about with the invention of the mini computer in the 70s and 80s as companies like Digital Equipment Corporation brought about machines that were about the size of a file cabinet, cost $200,000 instead of $2 million, and allowed access to smaller institutions and corporations that before could not have their own mainframe computer. The next wave of disruption was the personal computer. When these first came about, they were so inferior relative to those mainframe and mini computers that companies like Apple struggled to even find a market that would be willing to experiment with them. They initially launched the personal computer as a toy for children. Do you remember that Apple IIe? And then it got better and better, as disruptive innovations tend to do, climbing on this relentless march up market, serving in a new value proposition: access, convenience, affordability, accessibility for people who before did not have access to computing power, until eventually it replaced the established system. And now who's disrupting the personal computer? We see very clearly the arrival of mobile devices that are following that same disruptive pattern of offering this value proposition of convenience, affordability, accessibility to those who otherwise did not have the privilege of accessing a computer. And we're seeing these very clearly disrupt the prior industries. That's the pattern of disruptive innovation.